Hello, this is Foon from HustleCastle.site. Welcome back to my channel. Not too long ago, we got a whole new type of weapon, pistols, as well as 2 new ancient sets that use them. In this video, I'm going to look at pistols as a weapon type, including attack speed and rune effects, and then read through the descriptions of the 2 new ancient sets and make wild guesses about how they might perform. Now, as a bit of a teaser, I was offered one of these already. Stay tuned to the end to see which I chose. Just to borrow the usual deal, we get to play with one of these new sets for 2 weeks in exchange for making a video about it, testing it out, and hyping it up. So please subscribe to see when that video is ready. Sort of like a part 2 to this one. I'll do the best testing that I can on it. Before we get started, remember to leave a comment on this or any of my videos to enter my weekly diamond giveaway. Each week, I go through all new video comments. YouTube puts them all together for me. And I randomly choose 5 winners to each receive 250 diamonds. The drawing is recorded and sent along with the winners' game IDs to ensure integrity. My diamond giveaways, like all diamond giveaways, are sponsored by the official Hustle Castle community. Alright, so let's get to it. We just finished a RUNE event now in September 2022 for anyone watching this in the future. The August event was the Forest Sorcery Festival, a whole new type of event with a whole new weapon type too. Pistols were introduced immediately before the event, and one of the unique items in the Forest event was a pistols weapon. As of right now, those are still the only event pistols in the game, but I would assume we're going to get more in the coming months. Pistols are an archer class weapon, and what's most interesting about them is that they are a fast weapon. Previously, daggers were the only fast weapon type in the game. Fast weapons attack twice every second. Normal weapons attack once every second, slow weapons twice every 3 seconds, and very slow weapons once every 2 seconds. So as a fast weapon, pistols will fire 4 times each time an axe swings once. Axes are very slow. And even 3 pistol shots for each time a crossbow fires. Crossbows are generally slow weapons. The rapid-fire crossbow is so special because it attacks faster, and it's still just quote-unquote normal. Pistols will fire twice as fast as even the rapid-fire crossbow. Loyal viewers have already heard me go on and on about why fast weapons are so cool when I was talking about the slightly less new ancient set Blade King. First, there are a lot of cool effects from jewelry to weapon souls that trigger on attack. Some more attacks means more opportunities for those to trigger. Second, the way damage is calculated for base weapon damage is each point of the damage attribute on your fighter, whether that comes from gear, gems, elixirs, the hero, or something that hasn't come out yet. Each point of damage is directly added to the damage of the weapon per attack. Now, just a side note before I continue with my example, I've been Throne Room 11 for years now, and my content is all very TR-centric because I can't even remember before then. I hope it's easy to spot when I mistakenly present info as if it's universally true when it's not true below TR11, but apologies for when it's not obvious and I confuse anyone. So back to how bonuses to damage work. If you max out damage from elixirs on one of your fighters, for a fighter training level 100 fighter, that's 20,000 damage added to that fighter's damage attribute. So on pistols, you're adding 20,000 per attack. 2 attacks per second, you just added 40,000 DPS from elixirs. Insane. Same elixirs on a fighter with a crossbow, not counting rapid fire crossbow, you still add 20,000 damage per attack. 2 attacks every 3 seconds for crossbow is 0.667 attacks per second, so you get 13,000 added to DPS from the same elixirs. Now adding 13,000 DPS is great, but adding 40,000 DPS is a whole other level. If that math is interesting to you and you have not already watched my damage explainer video, I really recommend it. My damage and ancient reroll videos are the ones I'm most proud of. Now, I was really excited about the potential for great damage when we got Blade King, but on an archer set, that's even more true. An archer's main purpose is damage. Even a quote-unquote support archer like Inventor, you care about their damage, so their cannon and wolf armor, whatever they have, will trigger. Alright, let's look at some rune effects on pistols. There are a few of these infographics around that show all the different effects of all the different runes. This is my favorite, made by QuasiJ, apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. But all these graphics are lacking the effect for pistols. And actually they're lacking a lot of runes too. This one only goes up to the Dragon Hustle, which was March 2021, so a year and a half ago. We just had a rune event, so I have access to this handy screen. Each rune event introduces 3 new runes. So it looks like that infographic is missing 15 runes or 5 rune events worth of runes. Now, I'd like to even make a new one of these myself, but cutting out the 39 images of the rune icons, even if I use this graphic as a starting point, to OCR all this and reorganize it would take time. Screenshotting and OCRing the effects for the 15 missing runes, these last 5 rune events have had runes that are specific to one class with a different effect for each weapon type. So that's a lot of different effects. Basically, it would be a big project to update this to include all 39 runes and all their effects. Too big for me to find time to do it all, but I really wish that infographic existed. So maybe there are a few people who would like to divide up the work and do it together. It would be pretty easy to divide it up by runes. If you would be interested in helping me do that, then message me on Discord at Foon7506. I'll make a group chat and we can make this happen. Okay, tangent over, back to runes on pistols. So as I mentioned, the 5 last rune events each had 1 rune that could be equipped on an archer, and each of those will have a new effect for pistols. Also, the old gold ring runes, like the lightning bolt one, those can each be equipped on any class and have a different effect for each weapon type. So we care about all 3 of those. So for those keeping count, that's 8 new rune effects to look at. Let's get started. Okay, so let's look at each of the 8 runes that will have a new effect for pistols. And actually, I'm going to start with a bonus 9th rune, the rune of dexterity, or basically just the archer weapon rune. This is one of those very first runes that on every single unique item has a different effect. So when you see the new gear getting leaked and people saying what the effect is for event gear with the rune and without the rune, they mean these old original runes that have unique effects on every single item. So again, this isn't a new effect for pistols, but we have this one single event pistols available, so it makes sense to just kind of look at this too. The effect is the unit's attacks have a 40% chance of ignoring all of the target's armor. So that sounds pretty good to me. Let's keep going oldest to newest, so I'll move on to those golden color ring runes. Here we have the electric rune. Now, these 3 ring runes, they can go on any type of fighter, and they have a different effect for every single weapon type. Up to now, these are the only 3 runes that work this way. The more recent ones, each rune can only fit onto one class of fighter, class as in mage, archer, or tank, but then the effect is different for each type of weapon. There are also a few runes that can go on any class of fighter and have a different effect for each class of fighter. So every mage has the same effect with that rune, every archer has the same effect with that rune, etc. So we're not looking at those because a new weapon type like pistols doesn't change anything. It'll be the same as any other archer. But these 3 runes here have a different effect for crossbow and shotgun, as well as orb and scepter, just a real lot of effects for these 3 runes. So what's the effect for pistols? The unit's attacks have a 25% chance of silencing an enemy for 1.7 seconds. That enemy cannot use any of their abilities except those granted by the set equipped. Now that sounds fantastic, as I've already gone over and over about. The attack is happening twice a second. So twice a second, you have a 25% chance of silencing an enemy for almost 2 seconds. That's absolutely fantastic. I like that better than on a crossbow, which is where I have it now. Though this rune is really nice on a palamage if your palamage has an orb or a Darkula. Now the next one, the rule of defilement. The unit's attacks have a 30% chance of slowing down an enemy's attack speed by 14% for 2 seconds, up to 5 attacks. Now that also sounds really good. I love slowdown. However, these 3 kind of matching runes are all ring runes, so any one fighter would have to at most have just one of them, and I like the silence better, I think, than the slowdown. This rune is really nice on Scepter, and that's where I think most people have it. And finishing up this set of runes, the unit's attacks have a 40% chance of setting an enemy on fire. That enemy takes 45,000 magic damage and has their healing rate reduced by 65% for 2 seconds. That sounds fine. It's probably my least favorite of the 3. This rune has a pretty nice effect on Lego, and that's where I use it. It's interesting that all 3 of these have a trigger that works on attack. So again, there's a lot of advantages of a fast weapon. I think the next oldest one is this one here, the rune of flexibility. This is another weapon rune, so you'd have to choose between this one or the rune of dexterity or several other weapon runes. So here's the effect. When the unit hits the target, the unit's shots have a 40% chance to deal 20,000 pure damage for 3 seconds. Now, one quick note about the English you see in Hustle Castle. Damage for 3 seconds or healing for 3 seconds. I have contacted support and confirmed that it means over that amount of time. I think most of the time, certainly for healing for 3 seconds, you don't lose the healing afterwards. It just happens over those amount of seconds. With damage, I believe it is also the damage is occurring. It doesn't like remove the damage afterwards. And again, I really like this. So each hit, which I assume to mean an attack that is not dodged, which is going to be most hits, there's a 40% chance to deal a decent amount of pure damage. 20,000 pure damage is quite significant. And this is going to be happening on average about every second and a half. So that's a pretty big boost there. I like it. And the next rune, if I remember, was the rune of swiftness. This one and the one before were the first 2 of the style, where each rune is unique to the class of fighter and has a different ability for each weapon type within that class. And I suppose you could say that they've just finished the whole set of this style of rune with the ring and the amulet that came right after this, and then the artifact of the same style of rune that we just had now. Okay, Rune of Swiftness. The effect here on pistols is when a unit deals critical damage, it increases their physical and magical armor by 2,000, lasts for 5 seconds, up to 10 effects. Now that's interesting, almost like elf armor, but in a rune. It would be very interesting to try that out. Moving along, I don't remember if the ring or amulet came next, but let's do the ring. The Rune of Resourcefulness. And the effect with pistols is when the unit shoots, they have a 20% chance to shoot again at the enemy with the least health. That actually sounds a lot like one of the set abilities. I would say that's fine, but this goes on the ring, and of all the runes I've seen on ring so far, it was the electric rune that was Silence that I thought was best ability by far. So the matching amulet, the Rune of Keen Vision. When the unit hits the target, the unit's shots have a 50% chance to increase the target's artifact ability cooldown by 1.6 seconds. That is very specific. Now, that kind of sounds a little too specific to me. The target has to be the one with just the right artifact, but you never know. I have talked before about how if you can get your Dragon's Eye artifact to trigger just before the enemies, then there's no bodies left on the ground most of the time for them, and that can be really hard for the other side to recover from. But since it's the target and the target can be any of the opponents, I think it's way too random about which artifact you're going to be increasing the cooldown for. I think that should bring us to our very last rune, the one we just got recently, or hopefully everyone just got recently. When the unit hits the target, again, all of these, or almost all of these, have the same trigger of hitting the target or attacking, both of which are going to trigger a lot because this is a fast weapon. So when the unit hits the target, the unit's attack has a 33% chance to disarm the target for 1 second. The enemy unit can't use the weapon's ability for 1 second. So that does not sound very good to me. Disarming, that's great, but 1 second is not very much. I mean, compare that to the electric rune, which silenced, and silence includes artifacts and armor abilities and soul abilities, and that was for almost 2 seconds. So I think this would probably just not end up being used. This is the biggest complaint about this style of rune, the ones that are specific to one class of fighter, but have a different effect on each weapon type. We now have a full set weapon, armor, ring, amulet, and artifact of runes that can only go on an archer, as well as a whole set that can only go on mage and a whole set that can only go on a tank. Now, granted, there are 39 runes now, so anybody who has all of them is going to have extras, but if you only have 1 or 2 archers, then you end up with a real lot of extra archer runes. And I think this one is definitely going to go into that extra bin, at least for the pistol effect. Maybe it's better on another one, I can't even really remember right now. So I think and hope that I got all 8 runes, 9 with the bonus Rune of Dexterity's effect on the Spring Spirit pistols, the only event pistols we have so far. I'm recording this part of the video last. There's some behind the scenes secrets for you, and am getting pretty sleepy, so apologize if I said something just incorrect or incoherent during that. But you know, the images were on the screen, you could read what it actually is, and ignore my voice if I'm rambling incoherently. Alright, that's all the runes. Now we can move on to the ancient sets. The first set is the Mercenary. I love his Swiss Guard inspired skin, especially for a quote-unquote mercenary, since the Swiss were famous mercenaries in the time. You get the materials for this set from the Dark Cathedral store. Similar to Blade King and Ice Angler in the Arena store, you can buy a ready-to-go essence or each of the materials, and there is no inventory limit. Compare that to the Expedition store, where you can only buy 1 essence worth of materials each week. For the Expedition store, I recommend selling it out even if you don't think you'll ever build a set. Here, since there's no inventory limit, you can calculate how many particles of light you need for the set, depending if you want 2-piece, 4- or 6-piece mercenary, and wait until you're ready to start crafting essence to buy them. Maybe in that intermittent time, something new comes along and you decide not to build it. If that happens, then you can put those particles of light into chests instead. I can do some math for you. Each essence is 75,000, 55,000, 30,000, and 30,000. That's 190,000 per essence. So just jewelry will be 6 essence at 1,140,000 particles of light. Weapon and soul will be another 17 essence at 3,230,000 particles of light, which adds up to 4,370,000 particles for the weapon and jewelry 4-piece. A 6-piece mercenary will be 40 essence, costing 7,600,000 particles of light. All right, let's look at what it does. So 2 out of 6. Each shot has a 20% chance of enhancing damage done by a nearby ally by 30% for 2.5 seconds, up to 2 effects. Right away, the 2-piece sounds like it could be a nice addition to a secondary archer to supercharge the main Dragonborn. And this is an effect that has a % chance of happening for each shot. I already went on about how great it is that pistols are fast. So you have a 20% chance, or 1 in 5 chance, to trigger this effect. And you get to roll that dice twice every second. The effect lasts 2.5 seconds. Keeping in mind, 2 shots per second means you have 5 1 in 5 chances every 2.5 seconds. And it even says it'll stack up to 2 times. Now, it says a nearby ally. How likely is that to be the other archer versus a mage? A 30% increase to damage is huge for the Dragonborn, but it's basically useless on a mage. Now, I actually went ahead and made the jewelry for my second archer, and I felt like I lost a lot more with that. I didn't do slow motion tests, but I'm thinking that nearby is a wide net, and that more times than not the effect goes on a mage, since probability-wise there are more of them. So let's move on to the 4 out of 6. Both of my archers right now are 4 out of 6 with tank armor. My main DB has elf tank armor to keep her alive. My secondary archer has wolf tank armor, also to keep my main DB alive. I like wolf armor, so I'm definitely looking at this 4 out of 6 version of the set so that I can keep that on my second archer. Each shot has a 20% chance of enhancing damage done by a nearby ally by 50% for 2.5 seconds, up to 3 effects. Once in a while, fires lead shot at a nearby enemy. The shot deals physical damage and silences that enemy for 1 second. While silenced, he cannot use any abilities except those granted by the set equipped. An enemy that is closer takes greater damage and vice versa. Max damage is 120,000 and min damage is 39,600. Again, a nearby ally. So I'm not impressed by that first effect. The second effect is a lead shot that silences for 1 second and does some extra damage. I'm also a bit meh on 1 second of silence. It could be powerful if triggered early, essentially adding a 1 second delay to the opponent. In a perfect world, that could mean the next time their Dino Wand would trigger, maybe yours already silenced their Incinerator. The next time their Dragon Eye would trigger, maybe yours just triggered and didn't leave any dead bodies left on the ground for them. But in practice, 1 second delay may not actually work that well. It's hard to say. Overall, I'm feeling maybe this could be good, but I'm not really excited by it. So the 6 out of 6. Each shot has a 30% chance of enhancing damage done by a nearby ally by 80% for 3.5 seconds, up to 3 effects. Once in a while, fires lead shot at a nearby enemy. The shot hits all enemies within a small radius around the target, dealing physical damage and silencing all enemies hit for 2 seconds. While silenced, they cannot use their abilities, except those granted by the set equipped. Enemies that are closer take greater damage, and vice versa. Max damage is 300,000, and min damage is 99,000. All allies within a small radius around the Mercenary have their piercing increased by 25%. Once in a while, the Mercenary increases max health in all allies by 25%. Lasts for 5 seconds. Also, all units restore 120,000 health for 3 seconds. During that period, the Mercenary's crit is increased by 50%, and the enemy with the lowest health becomes his preferred target. Also, each time the Mercenary fires a shot, he takes an extra shot at a random enemy. Again, a nearby ally, which is very likely a mage in most squads, so useless most of the time. Now, the silence is 2 seconds, so arguably twice as good there. All allies in a small radius have pierce increased 25%. Now, that should include the Dragonborn, so that sounds great. But I could also just increase pierce other ways. An entire 6 out of 6 fighter for a boost to 1 stat is a big cost. Now that last part, the increased health part that's unique to the full 6 out of 6 set. Increasing all allies' health by 25% for 5 seconds is huge. This increased health ability, I think, puts Mercenary in the do it 6 out of 6 or don't bother category of ancient sets. Also, there's healing. Also, there's crit increase. That's nice. And this last bit, during these 5 seconds, he's taking 2 shots, one at the lowest health enemy and one at a random enemy. That's doubling the Mercenary's DPS. More than double, actually, because each of those shots, 4 per second for 5 seconds, presumably, can crit or trigger other attack effects, presumably. Okay, so that is Mercenary. As always, take my commentary with a healthy dose of skepticism. I'm just talking off the cuff, and as always in Hustle Castle, descriptions only get you half the way. How this stuff works in practice is a whole other animal. Now the second set, the Raider. This one, you need to get the materials from the Very Dark Souls chests in the portal. Now, Very Dark Souls are a currency that was added just before my time when the portal was first expanded beyond level 80. Portal levels 1 to 80 give Dark Souls. Portal levels 81 to 135 give Very Dark Souls. And the two currencies are not interchangeable. The store has some items for sale for Very Dark Souls and different items for sale for regular Dark Souls. The material chest for regular Dark Souls have materials for sets like Incinerator and Dragonborn and many others. These material chests for Very Dark Souls are the only place to get materials for the Illusionist and Storm sets, as well as the more recent Nameless King, and now a fourth set, the Raider. So just these 4 sets in this chest. My first set, way back when giant lizards roamed the earth, was Illusionist. And I remember how insanely painful it was grinding for these chests and how slow it was to get the materials I needed. And I've already heard horror stories of players selling out the store for all 8 chests and getting materials for 1 Raider essence. So let's look at the numbers and try to estimate how long it would take to build a 6 out of 6 Raider. I'll use just the orange materials as a proxy since I think that will give us a pretty accurate estimate for getting all the materials for each essence. So each chest gives 20 to 40 orange materials. I'll use the average 30, and now there are 4 different ancient sets mixed up in this chest. In reality, some will be very lucky and some will be very unlucky, but I'm calculating the average here. So on average, each chest gives 30 orange materials, and 25% of those, on average, will be for Raider. Each essence needs 30 pieces of its orange material. Now, it doesn't take a calculator to finish this. On average, it will take 4 chests to get the material for 1 Raider essence. And with a store inventory limit of 8 chests, you're looking at an average of 2 essence per week. And that is, of course, if you grind the portal heavy enough to sell out all 8 chests every weekend. No small task and no small amount of apples. But if you do that, you will finish your 6 out of 6 Raider in 20 weeks. Just under 5 months, give or take a lot of randomness. And that's just for the first craft. This set has got to be really good to justify all the time and apples to build and presumably re-roll, as well as take the spot of an existing fighter. Honestly, to me, this looks as close to impossible to build as it could be. The expedition sets are limited to 1 per week, but you only have to win 1 or 2 expos a week to sell the store out. It's slow but easy. Grinding the portal enough to sell out the Very Dark Soul material chests is a lot of time and apples. This has got to be an amazing set. And then still, I think virtually everyone will wait and hope for the quote-unquote cheap offer and just buy it with money. That would also come with a good roll. So I think I speak for a lot of people when I say it better freaking not be a must-have set. Or if it's a must-have set, then never sell it for money. That's not going to happen. It makes sense for sets that are harder to build to be better, but the Very Dark Soul sets are now so hard to build that it's pointless. I cannot imagine working that hard for a set, hoping to finish it in half a year. They're introducing new and better sets every few months. The probability that the effort would end up being wasted is too high. So who will have this set? The people who spend $100 for it, or the quote-unquote lucky ones who get the quote-unquote cheap offer and spend $50 on it. And frankly, that sucks, so here's hoping the set sucks too. Alright, let's look at it. The 2 out of 6. Each of the unit's attacks has a 25% chance of crippling the target. The unit's attacks deal damage equal to 100% of the target's physical armor. So we have a new term, crippling. I can only assume that the second sentence is a definition for this new term. So damage is increased directly proportional to the target's armor. That's weird, but also interesting. The stronger the opponent, the harder this guy hits. Moving on to the 4 to 6. Again, I myself and certainly many others have 2 archers and the second has wolf tank armor, and that is a really nice setup. So a strong 4 to 6 archer would fit neatly in my squad or anyone else with roughly the same squad. Let's read it. Each of the unit's attacks has a 25% chance of crippling the target. The unit's attacks deal damage equal to 120% of the target's physical armor and reduces the target's max health by 5%, lasts for 4 seconds, up to 4 effects. After 5 crippling attacks, the next crippling attack will affect all enemies within a small radius around the target. The first effect, the crippling, adds a max health reduction, which has the ability to stack 4 times. And the second paragraph, the 6th crippling attack, affects all enemies within a small radius. That all sounds decent, but I'm not going crazy for it. Let's look at the 6 out of 6. Each of the unit's shots has a 35% chance of crippling the target. The unit's shot deals damage equal to 150% of the target's physical and magical armor and reduces the target's max health by 12%, lasts for 4 seconds, up to 4 effects. After 3 crippling shots, the next crippling shot will affect all enemies within a small radius around the target. Once every 5 seconds, a cannonball falls onto a random enemy, dealing 200,000 physical damage. Also, the cannonball deals extra pure damage equal to 150% of the target's max armor. Once 3 cannonballs have been launched, the next cannonball will affect all enemies within a small radius around the target. Also, it will stun all enemies for 2 seconds and set them on fire. The burning enemies take 150,000 damage and have their healing rate reduced by 65% for 3 seconds. So the crippling reducing health by 12% is quite more impressive. The second paragraph, every fourth cannonball, everyone gets stunned for 2 seconds. That could be really good. Every 20 seconds, the entire opposing squad sits stunned for 2 seconds. I would think almost any good squad would be able to bounce back with a 2-second breather. In Arena, 20-second battles are not very common, but this could be really strong in long battles like Clan War and Expo. So I don't want to like it, but it does sound like it has a lot of potential. I guess we'll have to see in the next video. Okay, so there's my part 1 pistol video. I'm glad I split this into 2 parts because that was a lot of information. All of it easily accessible to any of you, but by me reading it to you, then you can listen to it while grinding the game. Win-win. And now I can skip all that intro info in my set testing video, which is nice because I really hate hour-long videos, and I don't think anyone else likes them either. Remember to leave a comment with your game ID to enter my weekly diamond giveaway, and subscribe to see when my next video is ready. I'll be testing out this guy. That's right, I have the impossible to get set, at least for a few more days anyway. Subscribing also helps me out. I'm still looking for about 200 more subscribers so I can apply to receive a portion of the ad revenue from the ads that play before my videos. I also need about 1,000 more watch hours, so if you want to just play my whole library of videos in the background, that would be super. Anyway, I'll see you all in War Chat, on Discord, or in the comments below. I hope I hear from some of you about making a new RUNE infographic, because split up it would be an easy project, but alone it would take hours. Cheers!